This week in the Southern Discourse kitchen, we're making this classic cream cheese and shrimp dip. So let's get started. I've got another easy dip recipe, and it is the second in our easy summer dip recipe series. You're gonna love it. It's a little bit retro. It is a cream cheese and shrimp dip. Sometimes it's called a cocktail shrimp dip, and it is so delicious. Let's get right into this ingredient list because the list is short, but I've got a couple of tips and tricks that's going to make your dip recipe really special. So we're going to start with about a pound or a pound and a half of cooked shrimp. I've poached mine. I'm going to show you how to do it. It takes 2 to 4 minutes. So easy. Then we've got sour cream, cream cheese, mayonnaise, a little Worcestershire sauce, some hot sauce or Tabasco, Old Bay seasoning or my house-made Creole seasoning, and that's it. So let me show you how to poach your own shrimp. Of course, you could buy a shrimp cocktail ring from the grocery store, but poaching your own shrimp really is the best way to go. It's super easy, takes about 2 to 4 minutes of cook time, and it adds so much flavor. So we've got 6 cups of water already in our pan getting hot, and we're gonna add 12 ounces of beer, and a white Belgian ale works best with seafood. We've got a whole lemon. We have pickling spices, Old Bay or my all-purpose house Creole seasoning, and a tablespoon of butter. And we're gonna let this come to a full boil, and then we're gonna drop our shrimp in. Now that we're at a full boil, I'm going to turn off the heat to the oven. We're gonna drop in our shrimp. I'm using frozen shrimp since I don't live near the coast. And we're gonna put on our lid, and we're gonna check it at 2 minutes. So it's been 2 minutes. We're gonna peek in on the shrimp. All right, it's been 2 more minutes. So let's peek in here. And we've just poached them in this hot liquid. We've not used any direct heat, so they'll be nice and plump and really tender. Now we're gonna make our own homemade cocktail sauce. Now we could just buy something in a jar, but making our own sauce is so much better. Not just because we're skipping out on preservatives and unwanted ingredients, which we are, but it's also because it's just gonna taste better. We can season it the way we want to, and it's gonna be nice and fresh. So we've started with a cup of ketchup. We've added a little Worcestershire sauce. Now we're adding horseradish. Of course, you've gotta have lemon juice. And then we have a little ground mustard and garlic powder. And we're just gonna mix this around, and that's all you do. Homemade cocktail sauce. If you like it spicier, you can add more horseradish. If you like it less spicy, you can add less. I'm probably gonna add a little more because I like a little kick, but it's totally customizable and it's 100% good. Okay, so now we're gonna make the base of this dip, and just like with a lot of our dips here in the South, we're gonna start with a block of cream cheese. Now this one is room temperature because it's always easier to work with the room temperature cream cheese. And we're just gonna use a fork, and we're gonna give it a couple of mashes just to kind of loosen it up and make a good base for the rest of our ingredients. Now we're gonna go in with the mayonnaise and sour cream, a little bit of savory smokiness from the Worcestershire sauce, and then we've got bright acidity with this hot sauce, and all of that good spiciness with our Old Bay or our Creole seasoning. So I've moved over to that whisk just to give it that last good mix to make it nice and creamy. So before we finish, let's add this cocktail sauce. Okay, so just like last week, we've got a nice pink base and we're ready to fold in our shrimp. Right before we fold that shrimp in, especially if you're using large shrimp, we're gonna need to give it a chop or two. And we just wanna rough chop it into bite-sized pieces so that when you dip it on a cracker or a crostini or even with a vegetable, it makes a nice bite. Okay, so now that our seafood is good and chopped, we're going to use our bench knife and we're going to transfer that seafood right into the base of our dip. I'm going to pause about halfway through because I find it's easier to get a good mix when I just put in a little bit at a time. And then I am going to want to leave a little bit of shrimp kind of over to the side because we're going to use this to garnish the top of our dip. So this last little bit, I'm going to throw it in. We don't want anything to escape. We got to make sure we get all that goodness in there. And there you go. That's it. Okay, so let's plate this dip. And as always, presentation is going to be really special. Of course, you could just serve it like this right out of the bowl if you were in a hurry and you didn't want to wait. But if you want to do something a little more, then we're going to top it with some other things, okay? So I've got a platter here that we're going to fill in just a minute. And then I have this gold pedestal that we're actually going to put the dip on. We always want to work from the center outward. All right, and that's a good amount. We'll just save this for later. And then some of that cocktail sauce that we whipped up earlier. We didn't use it all for the dip ingredients, so we've got plenty left over. We're just going to put some right there on the top, and then again from the center out towards the edges. We don't want to dig in too deep because we don't want to smear the dip in it. We just want it to be a nice little pool kind of there on the top. And then we have that shrimp that we held back. And we're going to put it right in the middle of that cocktail sauce. It's just a little extra something. Okay. And then, we're going to need a little color. So I've got some chopped chives. And I'm just going to go wild. I'm just going to put it all over the dip. Of course, you could focus it right there in the center, but I think it looks good. A little bit everywhere. Okay, so there you have it, our old school or retro cream cheese and shrimp cocktail dip. Now we're going to build us a little tray here because if you're going to serve it poolside or at the beach or even at the lake, it's got to look good. All right, so I've got everything that we need here to build us a delicious party tray. I've got a little bit of lettuce and we're going to use that as a foundation. We've got some crostini that we broiled with a little bit of olive oil and parsley flakes. We've got some dried pita chips, some delicious fresh summer vegetables, and a little bit of pickles. So we're going to get started with this green leaf lettuce first. And what I've done is just simply chopped off the core, and that has loosened up all of our leaves and given us some nice pieces to work with. And we're going to start around the base or the edge of our pedestal. So we're tucking the core pieces where it's white here right underneath the bowl, and it's giving us a nice little green foundation for our platter. And this is just a nice special presentation that gives your tray a little something extra. I'm going to add another piece underneath here just because I want that edge to come out a little bit further. So this is another one of those great recipes that you and your family can enjoy at the lake, at the pool, at the beach, even on a Tuesday night on the patio for a light dinner. I even love to serve it at the holidays. It's perfect for New Year's Eve. You're going to find a lot of reasons to make this dip, and I can't wait to see it on your table really soon. If you like this recipe and this entertaining idea, then don't forget to subscribe, not just to the YouTube channel, but to southerndiscourse.com, where I'm cooking up all the Southern food that you know and love. Plus, you get access to my series, Dinner with Friends, where we're putting together delicious spreads like this and inviting a couple of friends over to enjoy it. And weekly meal plans so that you know how to feed your family and how to use all of the recipes that we make here at Southern Discourse. From the kitchen to the table, I've got you covered.